Today, nothing dumb happened this week. Just kidding. This is CheckPoint. I could barely even get through the line.
I was like, if nothing dumb happened, then what did Graham and Kathleen spend all that time writing for?
Mostly just to feel myself weaving words together again, you know?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
Good.
So, hold on. This is very self-indulgent. I didn't actually give myself bangs. I'm not at that level of quarantine unhingedness yet, which is like a common thing that but my hair is really freaking, it's in my face. It stinks and it's in my face.
Where I have opted to just kind of live my best Thufir Hawat from 1980s David Lynch's Dune.
You look good.
Oh, thank you. I could also be Thufir Hawat from 1980s Alan Smithy's Dune if I wanted to, but...
Hey, Beige.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I've been having a problem with hair in my face as well.
You're looking very fluffy, Paul. But Beige, after you can get haircuts again, just take down the back and sides real short, but leave the top big and long and just put hair product in it so it always like sort of sticks up. You know.
That was me in university.
Sort of Christopher Lloyd style. What do you think?
It was even in university, my hair was probably about that much taller.
Wow.
Yeah. It was quite the thing. It was I was going for Neki Basada from Macross 7. Mostly because I was like, I think I can cosplay him. I just have to keep growing my hair out and see what happens. I will never do that again, though, because it was like a pain in the ass to take care of. I have respect for women, especially having to take care of long hair like that.
I think you have respect for women before you realized how annoying long hair was. Don't sell yourself short.
I mean, I wasn't an asshole in university the way a lot of people were, but I was young.
Yeah.
And didn't understand some things.
No, long hair stinks, though. It's very true.
I mean, only if you don't wash it.
Yeah.
No, but after you wash it, then because it's so unnaturally long, it gets all like it's unhappy, right? Then it's dry, and you need to put things in it so it looks nice.
Yeah. I thought about getting clippers.
Yeah, doing the cue ball. Or just just the really short buzz cut?
I need hair, Paul. Let me tell you, like hair is a requirement for my life. Like I could not look in the mirror and be missing all of my hair unless it happens slowly over time and I got used to it. But
right, you want it to all go at once.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I need to slowly watch it disappear so I can be like, okay, I can come to terms with it. If I woke up one morning and was bald, I'd have to ask Heather some questions.
Yeah, why does the hair on the top of our heads grow so long, but all of our other like random hair just doesn't? Like nobody has to think, God, if I don't trim my leg hair, it's going to start pooling in my socks.
Yeah.
Your pubes don't ever reach your knees,
right? No matter how long I've been growing them for, they just refuse to do that.
I feel like there's some sort of government grant research required on this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we get the guys who released the paper on why bread lands jam face down, which is a real thing. It's the average height of a table and the size of a loaf piece of bread and how it falls off and like the number of rotations it makes. It's statistically much more likely to land face down.
Oh.
We just happened to luck into that it was just happened to be the perfect combination of things to make that happen more often than not. That's kind of funny.
According to
these Nobel Awards are amazing.
Okay, according to the Spin Dash, who I'm going to assume is at least as reliable as Wikipedia, most follicles just fall out within a certain time, so their max length is determined by their lifespan. The follicles on your head just live longer.
Yeah. And aren't probably constantly rubbing against stuff like the way your pubes are.
Anyway,
I mean,
hey,
yeah, your armpit hair is fairly well protected by your own arms.
this is CheckPoint,
Yeah.
the ChillPoint, the show where we talk about video game news, contrary to all outward appearances.
Now you see that.
Now,
Anyway.
if for some reason you haven't seen this show before, you are probably very confused if you're expecting to hear about video game news. But anyway, this is Checkpoint is a show where we talk. It's a 3 to 5 minute show where we have a super well written, well delivered, succinct, very funny take on that week's video game news. But in order to do that, we have to go through a lot of stories and write a bunch of stuff. And we like to talk about some of the stuff that maybe didn't make it in. And so that's what this is. This is Chill Point, where we just kind of hang out and chat about the video game news in preparation for the checkpoint to come.
Consider us the Dark Herald of video game news stories not yet told.
Checkpoint to be.
And to that end, let's start with a little sneak preview reading of some of the stories that will be in the checkpoint, which will be coming out either later on tonight or tomorrow morning.
Yes. It will be following the show at some distance. Time and distance are equitable. Right. Is it just us that finds it hilarious how badly professional racing drivers are transitioning to the life of esports with its increased public visibility and very real repercussions for acting like a dingus? No? Good, because it happened again. Team Audi has benched Formula E driver Daniel Abt after he placed third in a charity event by using a ringer. After landing a much better time than he had previously, and with a suspiciously obscured face cam, even one of the commentators jokingly remarked, "Somebody must be racing for Daniel." Following an investigation of IP addresses, it was revealed that, indeed, professional racing simulator driver Lorenz Herzing had driven Abt's race for him. Abt was ordered to donate €10,000 to UNICEF and was benched by his team, while Herzing was stripped of his 6th place finish in the Companion Simulator series and banned from competing in the series again. Abt defended their actions with the "it's just a prank, bro" defense, saying he and Herzing thought it would be funny to have a skilled simulator driver sit in for him and show up the real racers, which they were definitely going to tell everybody about after the race. And even if that's true, it might have actually been funny if this was a pure entertainment event that no one was taking seriously. But it wasn't. There was money on the line. This isn't the NHL old-timers game where everyone understands there's some amount of jackassery. This had qualifiers. So no, you're the jackass. I know these drivers probably think that this is beneath them, but the internet continues to be real life, complete with consequences.
Yeah, this is. We need to have like, I don't know. They have to like have the drivers. They have to race like wearing one of those vests that they made that like gives you an electric shock if you if you crash or something. Like we need to give them the same kind of consequences for doing badly as they get actually when they are racing in real life.
Yeah.
If you crash your car, then just some guy comes over to your house and breaks your legs.
And if you call somebody on the circuit the N-word, then you get fired. I mean, that's already happened, so great.
Yeah, I mean that's not even like an internet versus regular driving thing. That's just a regular driving thing.
It just comes back to what I said last time, which is if you want us to take you guys seriously, then act like we should take you seriously. Go ahead, Kathleen. Sorry.
I just don't think that these people who have ever had, like, if you are like a mid-tier Formula One driver,
yeah,
when have you ever had this many eyes on you? Right?
Well, Formula One's is really huge. Like
Yeah.
it really is. But there's so many strict rules and regulations in place. And I think it's got to be one of those things where it's like, I'm not in the same thing, and I can do whatever I want because I'm a god on wheels. Because there's a lot of machismo and a lot of ego tied up in being in any sort of like racing circuit. You know, you're taking your life in your own hands, so it's like I have to show off that I've got the largest pair of things swinging between my legs, and then it makes them do stupid things.
Right. They're already a risk-taking sort.
Yeah.
And I think it's also that like the racing world has a long history of, you know, getting an edge wherever you can by any means necessary, which is why like the rules for the real life racing things tend to be like incredibly specific in terms of like every single little bit of the car, how much this can weigh, how big this is, all these little things. Because if you leave anything to the interpretation, then they'll be like, oh, so that means that I can put an extra fuel tank there. It's like, no, that's not what? No. So you mean I can put fuel in the fuel line before I go live? No, you can't.
What if I have it in the tires? You never said I couldn't have fuel in my tires.
Yeah. And so like that's always been like a big thing. And in the video game world and in, you know, you're racing, you're at your own house, you set up, there's a lot more I guess benefit of the doubt that's required. Like there's a lot more that you can mess with in that kind of situation if you are indeed trying to, you know, get the edge. Like I would not be surprised if there's stories in the real world of drivers like a sub driver coming in, a fake driver coming in the middle of a race, that happened in real life. I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually a thing that has actually happened. So it might not even be that much of a stretch. Le Mans has fake drivers.
Oh. So, okay, so I got to make some things. This is Formula E, which apparently is being treated more seriously than Formula One. Formula One being sort of actually the top tier. So, like, I think they're just like, look at all these Formula One drivers doing esports, but like they're trying to make it more like casual and celebrity because these are like the biggest names in racing. So, but yeah, Formula E, a mid-tier Formula E driver, probably is not usually used to this much media attention.
I am surprised with the difference in how they handled things, where it's like, okay,
it's the electric series.
Yeah, that's thus the E.
Right. So, but it's not like, you know.
And now Audi's been making very good, very performant Formula E cars as well, is my understanding. And so they're very competitive in that area. And I'm sure for them, it's like, we don't want this guy representing our very competitive team if this is what he's going to be like when we're paying him to race.
Yeah.
But the difference where it's like, you, the guy who came up with this whole idea, you pay 10,000 euro to UNICEF. And then, Audi then threw him off the team, I believe. I don't think it was just benched. I think they might have actually just threw him off the team. I can't remember. I'd have to reread the article. But the other dude is like, oh, we're going to strip you of your finish. Okay. You're banned from competing ever again.
In a different, he was banned from competing in a different.
Dang.
Yeah, in the simulator series. Yeah,
in the simulator series. But
yeah.
I guess it's one of those. There's probably the whatever sportsmanship clause or whatever.
Yeah. I'm like, it's such a huge difference that it's like the guy who's probably fairly well known in the circuit, like in Formula E pro racing, gets the equivalent of what sounds like a slap on the wrist versus being like, no, you're banned from racing. I mean, if Opt was actually thrown off of Team Audi, chances are good he's probably not going to get picked up by anybody else right away, because he wasn't good enough for everyone to say, hold your nose and hire him. Compared to other racers. Who knows? I don't know enough about Formula E.
I mean, apparently he wasn't very good at the virtual driving.
I guess so. That's a channel still open to him if he wants.
I mean, if people were suspicious when he came in third, then he must not have been doing very well otherwise.
I'm going to stop talking because every time I report a fact from chat about like, oh, here's the things, we're like, oh no, Formula E also did a silly one. They did a jelly marble run. It's like, okay, I don't know anything about I don't know anything about racing. I know nothing about the sport of racing except that they are not transitioning well to esports. And I'm going to stop reporting facts about it.
The thing that did come up in the story, though, which I think is also funny that they are hitting on in chat, Opt's team, the Audi team, is run by his dad.
So he was already there because of nepotism.
Most likely. I mean, you have to be able to race. In real life, you have to be able to race. It can't just be nepotism. But I'm sure it didn't hurt with him getting on his dad's team. But holy shit. Like, imagine your dad being like, what are you doing? What? You represent our team. Our name is on this team. What are you doing?
Wow.
I know. I do recall in terms of Formula E, they have been doing some interesting things with like social media stuff. Like when they were doing real races.
That was the Nitro thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, they would have this thing where, because the cars are limited by the amount of battery power they have, but every car had an extra little battery installed in it that was inaccessible except for certain circumstances, such as like you got the most votes on Twitter and suddenly you got a little bit of extra power.
Whoa.
I don't know what all the circumstances were, but so it was kind of an interesting idea. Basically trying to do like the Mario Kart, like get power-ups thing.
All right. Hey, Beige.
Yes.
Do you want to read the other story that Graham wrote?
Oh, yeah. Just roll right into the next one,
yeah,
sure.
Why not? We'll just do it in the order on the dock.
Manchester United, the generator of pub arguments that sometimes plays football, is suing publisher Sega and developer Sports Interactive over their use of the term Manchester United in the long-running Football Manager series. Even though, as Sega and SI happily pointed out, they've been using that name in the series since 1992, and Manchester United have seemed pretty cool with it in the past, with many players and staff going so far as to, play the game and talk positively about it to the press. Just not the Man U legal department, I guess. The thing is, Sega and SI are very careful about their use of the name because that's all they use. They don't use Man U crest or colors or uniforms, just the name, which Sega and SI argue is fair use for a realistic football simulation game. But that's also a problem because Man U claim that by using the name Manchester United but not their logo, instead using a generic red and white striped graphic, Sega is denying Manchester United money from licensing it to Sega. In their words, Sega doing this, quote, deprives the registered proprietor of its right to have the club crest licensed. The right! By right, you have to buy our stuff, is an amazing take, and the future capitalists want... Sorry. By right, you have to buy our stuff is an amazing take, and the future capitalists want, but I don't think it'll hold up. They even asked the judges if they can further amend the suit by adding a complaint on, quote, the practice of supplying patches, or mods, essentially downloadable files containing replica trademarks, which is certainly not what a patch is, and not what most mods are. Most PC game mods just make all the elves nude, but Manchester United is saying that Sports Interactive mustn't allow users to modify their game by uploading custom designs that look like the Manchester United logo. The judge hasn't decided to allow that. Sorry. The judge hasn't decided to allow that or not, but will have to make a decision about whether using the name Manchester United will allow Sega to, quote, benefit from an association with the club's winning culture and its brand values. Winning culture? Not in the last Premier League, mate. God, that's like a punch.
It's a roller coaster
right at the end. Like that, just kind of like.
That's a big one.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, Manchester United, what assholes!
It's like I read a comment on the story that was like, this would be akin to a paper manufacturer taking a newspaper to court and saying that you cannot print copyrighted words on our, or no. It was something along the line of, if you're a paper manufacturer, it's like you could take a newspaper to court and say you can't print copyrighted words on our paper or something like that. That you cannot do this thing. And I'm like, it's an interesting metaphor.
Like-
I don't know if it's entirely accurate.
Like, to be honest, I feel like that second part, they probably have a little bit more to stand on like that second part, that they're not actually like they're attempting to amend, like the idea of that that Sega or SI has a responsibility to keep copyrighted stuff out, because there has been some stuff with, like, I remember like City of Heroes had to stop people because you can make your hero look like whatever you want. So people were like, oh, I'm gonna make Superman, and they had to like put the kibosh to that. And so the idea that forcing a manufacturer to police the user generated content, is something that has been established. I mean, it's still kind of bullshit, but it's something that has been talked about before. But the idea of, it's like you're using this under fair use, which is legal. Using this under fair use is legal, but we say it's also because you're being sneaky and using it under fair use. They're trying to get them like on another aspect of it.
Yeah. It's like, do you remember Tecmo Bowl?
Yeah.
Tecmo Bowl would have like, here's all the teams in like from Tecmo Bowl, and then here's all of like it would have just the team city. And the same thing with I think Blades of Steel was the same way as a hockey game. It's like, here are all the cities, and Blades of Steel didn't have any licenses to use anything, but you could play as Edmonton. But Edmonton's colors were green and black, because that's just, they were like, we can't use anything that's close. And it's like, you could still play as a team from that location, but it didn't matter because they were like, they're just kind of mostly arcade games. But the thing about Tecmo Bowl, which was interesting, is that they had all the players. So you could have Bo Jackson running for a touchdown, playing for whatever team he was playing for at the time, and that was considered fine.
The weird thing, like they got the license from like the Players Union, but not the NFL or something.
Yeah, they had the NFLPA license, but you couldn't show the team name. You couldn't say the Dallas Cowboys. You could just say Dallas. And it's like, this seems like the kind of thing where Sega could be like, oh, well, there's a team in Manchester. We're just going to call it Manchester because that's the name of the town.
Right.
And then not call it Man U.
It's not United. It's just Manchester in general.
It's just the Manchester team. And that would be a way around it, I think, if they really didn't want to put United in there. And the thing is, like, everybody who plays Football Manager, because they're such massive nerds, are definitely going to be aware of this lawsuit. And they probably would be like, oh, well, we don't want Sega to stop, publishing this. We don't want SI to stop making it. Yeah, go ahead. Throw Manchester out, or just call it Manchester, or call it, even better, call it the name of like a neighboring town.
Call it those whiny bastards who wouldn't let us license their name.
Yeah.
Who told us we had to pay them to put the words Manchester. I couldn't do that. But you told us we had to pay them to reference them.
Yeah.
That's probably a little wordy for a video game.
Yeah.
You might have to like make it an acronym, like an acronym for that or something.
Yeah.
An initialism.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's the thing of them like suing because they're using it under fair use, and so they're denying the money for licensing it. Like, I'm just trying to think of like be similar to like the RIAA, like the record industry suing somebody for using like music in their game or their movie, like that they got through like Creative Commons or archive.org or some, they got through a because by getting the music through that other source, they're not licensing music from their system. It's just like that, but that's not. Forget it.
Yeah.
I like the chat has some interesting ideas. Where like just call it Man City, because Manchester City, and it's like, well, no, Man City's already an actual team, so you can't call it that. Okay, well then just get rid of Manchester United, and like, oh yeah, that's probably even better.
Perfect.
Just make it like extremely conspicuous with its absence.
Man U is not even located in Manchester proper. They're based in Salford. So just put them in, just call it Salford.
Call it Salford United.
Yep.
Or just be like MAN * Esther.
Yeah.
Like there's a swear in the middle of it.
Or maybe, okay, go with me on this journey. Instead of Manchester, flip the W upside down and call it Wancaster.
Wancaster.
Perfect.
Nice.
Well, what's the opposite of Manchester? Woman Griner.
Lady Grinder.
Lady Grinder United. Done. All right, we've got some good options for Sega.
Yeah.
If you work for Sega, call us.
We're more than happy. We're idea people here at Loading Ready Run, and we're happy to be the idea people you need on your team.
Absolutely. Blue ocean thinking is not broad enough. I'm in Marianas. What is the Marianas Trench thinking?
The Marinara Trench.
You can really I know how your brain just kind of like hooks on a thing that sounds like it, right? Because it's like, yeah, you're right. No, you're not. Wait.
No, I don't want to say it.
Come to our pasta buffet now with Marinara Trench.
With the Marinara Trench.
I gotta make some notes in a Trello.
The biggest vat of marinara in the world. Anyway.
All right, so I have a couple of stories now, which are much shorter and less complicated than those two stories. All right. Bethesda is delaying Fallout 76's annual Fastnacht parade, and not because of COVID-19. In fact, the problem is a lack of intestines. You see, because this delightful masked robot parade is in a video game, you have to do a bunch of fetch quests before it starts, and one of them requires animal intestines. Normally, they're super easy to find, but thanks to last month's Wastelanders expansion, which somehow nerfed the spawn rate of wildlife, this super easy quest is now basically impossible. Bethesda has now disabled the Fastnacht parade until a fix is in place. I'm glad they had the guts to shut it down.
I love your 26-foot long wind up there. That was really good.
It went live yesterday. When did this story come out? No.
When?
Did it just straight torpedo it?
No, didn't it go live yet? Like this story came out. Yes, didn't it go live yesterday and then got taken down?
Yeah, yesterday, Tuesday.
Yeah,
Is it back up again? I can amend that. It's fine. I can change it, but is it still running right now? That's the thing. Did they take it down? They fixed it quickly. Ah, darn. Okay, that's fine. I can make those changes later. That's what the reading is for.
That's good to know. The note I made on this was just like parade delayed because we can't find enough intestines. Kind of seems like something that could be a story in the real world of Fallout. Like, sorry, can't do the parade. So I guess they've increased the spawn rate again, so intestines are plentiful.
Just flying around the place.
Yeah, just growing on trees.
You kill an animal, and it's like, oh, I killed this duck. Here's 50 feet of intestine. What? Wow, what a weird duck.
There, I have changed the tenses of several verbs, and I think it's now fine. All right. Last story. No secret is safe in Animal Crossing New Horizons, the latest collective obsession of humankind. This is generally because as a species we are very curious, and specifically because of Ninji, a fourth-year university student from Scotland who can decompile a game like nobody's business. Although they are rarely credited, Ninji is the source of pretty much all the juiciest Animal Crossing information, and thanks to them we now finally know exactly how the game picks which villagers will ask to move out. Unfortunately, the TLDR is that it's extremely complicated and mostly random, So please stop hitting Jitters with a net. It's not going to make him leave any faster, and he's getting a headache.
Poor Jitters. Is Jitters like the one that nobody likes?
It's not a question of one that nobody likes, Paul. There's a whole list.
Okay. But Jitters is a common one that nobody likes?
He's just a very unsettling looking bird. When you do a search for Jitters Animal Crossing, you'll understand why. Basically, he always looks like this. And like, there's a lot of really cute villagers.
I love the idea if you do a search for Animal Crossing Jitters, it means something completely different than probably what it means now. It's like, I gotta get back to my game.
I got the Animal Crossing Jitters.
I mean, I was happy to see an animal go that I didn't want to deal with, and I just assumed the best way to do it is to not talk to them. And it turns out that kind of works and kind of doesn't. There's a whole little, there's like a 3 or 4 equations at play here. And it's also, the equations weight the randomness. Mm-hmm. So it's semi-random.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of stuff, and it seems like it would be super hard to game. I think we could just like put up a picture of the equations and be like, this is how it's done. But like me explaining it in the story wasn't going to make it any more clear, to be honest with you.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so other stories that did not make it into the episode. There's just this silly thing about... so they released a bunch more... gameplay footage from The Last of Us Part 2. This time, actually legitimately released, not leaked. Because there was a whole thing about that.
I just read about that last night.
But they actually did a full a gameplay reveal. And there's just this fun Easter egg that Last of Us Part 2, which takes place in the year 2038. One of the people who gets killed happens to be playing Vita, just PlayStation Vita, just before they die.
Yeah.
And so I like this. The Polygon story is Last of Us 2 kills off last living PlayStation Vita owner.
It's because the game takes place in like 2038.
Yeah, it sounds super violent and really not like something I want to experience right now.
The PlayStation Vita?
Yes.
I mean, The Last of Us Part 1 starts with, like... I mean, it's not really a spoiler, because it's in, like, the opening cutscene that we did for Unskippable. The guy's daughter gets horribly killed. Like, it's not a super, like, game.
Yeah.
Also, in terms of, global pandemics, it's not, like... I feel like they are maybe... hitting a little too close to home in some cases.
Yeah. Next story?
Yeah, next story. So there is a upcoming Samurai Showdown Neo Geo collection, which, from what I understand, if you're a fan of Samurai Showdown, is super exciting.
And very complete.
And extremely complete, because it includes Samurai Showdown 5 Perfect, which is a game that wasn't ever actually released properly. So it is more complete than the actual was ever possible to play in the first place.
Yeah, it was a single arcade cabinet that was put out in a Japanese arcade. I'm trying to remember how weird this is in the story, because it was like, let's test this to see how people like this. So let's make an arcade cabinet and let's put the ROM on the board actually and get it out there and let people play this briefly so we can see how everyone reacts to it. Because there were little rebalancing things. They added a whole bunch more storyline, like all sorts of stuff for like an arcade game, which I find amazing. And they put it out briefly, and SNK had no idea this existed.
Yeah, so the SNK's publisher, developed by Yuki Enterprises. So they did the first Samurai Showdown 5, then they did an update to Samurai Showdown 5.
Special
is
what it was called, yeah.
And everyone was happy. And then they made Samurai Showdown 5 perfect and started releasing it. And SNK was like, now what are you doing?
Yeah, because
And
they
they're
were
like, we're
already
making
prepping to
another.
make 6.
They're like, we're making another Samurai Showdown, and making it. We found some problems, so we're going to release more. And they're like, no, we didn't tell you to do that. Don't do that.
Yeah. The what's fascinating about it too is that they asked the people who are putting together the Neo Geo collection, the Samurai Shodown collection, um, they're trying to gather up a whole bunch of background information on like every game, and they were talking with Koji Takaya, who's the director at Yuki Enterprise, and said, "Hey, do you remember Samurai Showdown 5 Perfect?" And he was like, "Yeah," and then gives them a bit of a background on why Perfect exists, and he's chances still the code. And SNK's rule is you're not supposed to keep anything after you've made it. Like,
I like it's
code
like
doesn't stick around.
But that's a great. It's I hope that was actually like how it went. It was like any chance you have the code. Well, SNK says you shouldn't keep the code.
What?
It's like that didn't actually
not what I
answer that
asked.
question.
And he went and he looked.
And it turns out he went and looked, and he has the ROM.
Yeah, it's like I don't have any original source code, but I have the finished version of the ROM. The guys making the series, or guys making the collection, checked it out. Everything's there. It's the final edition, and they're like, we can just straight up emulate this. And what I love is Sheffield talking to Kotaku later, saying that despite it being generally frowned upon to hang on to company data, SNK was actually ecstatic to learn that Takia still had a copy of Samurai Showdown 5 Perfect on hand. And I'm kind of like, of course they were. This is now a major selling point for this collection of games that they want to sell to people. And if you have never played this game and you wanted to see what it's like because there are changes, this is gonna be huge for people who are really into Samurai Showdown. And even probably for people who are collectors of fighting games in general will be like, I can finally do this. Like I can finally play this like mythical game. And the reason the game really exists in the first place is because they were just trying to add new story elements and I believe add new characters, and they ended up having to tweak certain overkill moves, and they had to get rid of some stuff out of the game, and it made people like, I guess, who had seen the original were like, or had seen Perfect, were kind of like, why would you do this? But also because so many things have now been changed, they're like, we don't really have a change log. We don't remember everything that got changed. So it's going to be up to you guys, fighting game community, to figure out what happened to this game. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh, come on. Of course they're going to buy it now.
Wow, that's so funny.
We need to get Ninja on this, apparently.
Yeah, right?
I just can't believe that they're like, we don't need any of that. Throw it out.
Like, as somebody who, like, we reported on video game news for many years now, and the number of times we've seen this story play out of like, we want to re-release this game but we don't have the originals. Oh wait, some random guy has it on like a 5.25-inch disc in his
attic.
Like in his attic. Like the number of times that's happened is both amazing and also kind of terrifying that like that's the backup system. It's like that's the archive of some of this stuff is random box in the attic of somebody who might be there.
Yeah. It's real weird to like, I know this keeps going on, and I think we're not going to have that same kind of problem ever again, because I think the storage has gotten cheap enough and semi-reliable, and I can see why people might be like, I think it's just worth me keeping this stuff. Nobody wants to read my old papers from university, but people who have programmed a video game that was out for a brief period of time and then disappeared, or coded anything for that matter. That's the reason why there's abandonware sites. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to have the same problem like we did based on the early 80s and like the early 90s.
I mean, there's always this stuff with like TV shows and stuff too, right? Where they just, I was like, oh yeah, we taped over it. What?
Yeah.
Other stuff that's happening.
Well, there's speaking of very old games, there's a Fantasy Star patch, a new one that was 14 years in the making, and it's like a
This is not Fantasy
uh,
Star Online, by the way.
no, this is Fantasy Star, the original game for Sega. I don't even remember what console it came out of, but it's basically it was done by the people who like put out the original Fantasy Star uh patch, like that
That's
let
cool.
people play it, and they were just like, we've improved our work.
14 years after the fact.
Yeah, new scripts. You can change the main character's hair color now. You can use a different font if you want. There's some
Wow.
other stuff. So
It's because it was for the Sega Master System.
oh, that's it. Yeah.
And that's like that's so long ago. And the original game came out in English 32 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is like a patch on something that already was translated into English, and it's even 14 years after they had done this other patch.
Yeah, originally came out in 87 in Japanese, came to the States in 88, but the translation was so bad that it was almost unplayable.
Ah.
And then in 2006, a ROM hack patch to translate it came out. And then now that has been now updated to so if you haven't played it and are into playing Fantasy Star, this would be the version to play, I guess.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the fact that I didn't know this because I never played the original game, but that the healing items were burger and cola, and I'm like, oh, that is so like late 80s toy for kids kind of mentality, right? It's like, we can't call this a medicinal herb, or we can't call, you know what does appeal to everybody? We'll call it a burger. We'll have like, you're getting a Coke and a burger, and that's what heals you. It's like, that's what kids like, is they like, and it's like, yeah, that's what kids like in a game about future technology, sword and sorcery, whatever. Anyway.
Pokemon Go Fest 2020, which, Pokemon Go Fest has been a thing for the last couple of years, which is a time when they encourage everybody to get all together in one place and hang out together in a very small location very close to each other, which obviously is not a big thing at the moment. And so
I think we all agreed not to do that for a bit.
they have a plan that Pokemon Go Fest 2020 is not going to be location specific. You can play it from anywhere. It's going to be a 2-day experience, and you'll be able to virtually attend both days.
That sounds fun, honestly.
And because it's virtual, I'm so glad that they're doing this, that tickets were limited before, but now tickets are like, I'm at the point now where I totally expect them to be like, I totally would have expected them to be to still limit the tickets just because they can't get, people are dumb that way. They're like, whoa, there's a limited amount of space in our virtual environment.
Yeah. Weird to think that like a virtual convention style, like a virtual event would sell tickets to attend. But
Well,
that is
it's
an interesting idea.
basically Pokemon Go has been doing this as a way to try and get, because people aren't necessarily going out and like buying like packs of like incubators and stuff like that anymore to hatch eggs and other items that they need, because you're discouraged from meeting up, you're discouraged from walking around for the sake of walking around, right? So like sort of Pokemon Go player activity has dropped off. So what they've replaced that with is like, you can buy like for like $7 or $8, like basically a chain of like special research quests that are fairly easy to complete while not being super active or coordinating to do raids with like at least 6 other people that you probably don't see except outside of doing raids together. And then at the end you get like a legendary Pokemon and some items and stuff like that. So that's probably what GoFest is going to be. Yeah, so basically you're paying to it's like little DLC. It's like little Pokemon Go DLC is what you're paying for.
But I guess they're trying to make it like it's it's only going to happen at this one time. So it's sort of they're trying to make it kind of an event
Yeah.
to make it a little bit more special. But it seems
Yeah, and
more info is going to be released. Like it will be a paid thing, but we don't know what the price is at the moment.
there'll be ticket holder only spawns.
Cool.
And then speaking of games with fun animals, I guess there was a digital games showcase called the Wholesome Games Direct, which aired on Tuesday, I believe. And you can watch it now on YouTube. And it's sort of half an hour to an hour long. And it's basically this idea of sort of pushing back against the idea that sort of AAA titles have to be, and sort of popular games and exciting games have to be quote unquote sort of serious, brown and gray and guys
Very grim.
Big guys shooting each other or whatever. And this is a whole bunch of this is previously released but not demoed, and also first time seeing games that are designed that are not stressful or so bleak. They're just fun and wholesome games, and obviously this is a great time for that to get in there. They have book of there's some of the games that they talk about. Elliot and Co. A Space for the Unbound. Book of Travels. Snacko. Button City. When the Past Was Around. Mondo Museum. It's that's the idea of games that are not going around shooting everything, or at least if you're or if you're shooting everything, you're doing it colorfully.
Yeah, that I guess it's like it sounds like it's like some lower stakes. It's not like the world is going to end. It's not like everything's doom and gloom. It's like there's a problem, but it's a local problem. Like a Button City is a comedy about animals trying to stop their favorite arcade from closing. It's like, okay, and while it might be like they're not going to all be comedies, but or maybe all completely adorable, but they have that kind of feeling of it's not the grim darkness of the future. Right. It's just kind of a little more of a relaxing time, and you can kind of get drawn into this into a more relaxed story.
Mm-hmm.
Or Mondo Museum is a game where you get to design your own museum to show off fossils and artifacts.
Yeah,
sounds cool.
The it's funny to me because Heather was like, I can't wait to watch this. It sounds like it's going to be a really cool thing, and she watched it. And while she enjoyed, as my understanding is that she enjoyed it, also she's like, it's really interesting how the nature of making a video like this differs so heavily from Nintendo Directs, because they're borrowing the terminology, right? They're calling it a direct. And she's like, it's not. You watch it, it becomes very obvious that it's the series of trailers does not follow the same kind of feel, and it actually like they run their credits for like multiple minutes about here's a page of credits. It's just as a thing that she mentioned that I thought was really interesting. It's like, here's everybody who made stuff and put into making this whole direct and whatever. Here it is, and they leave it up for like a full minute with music playing in the background. It's like, but why? You could leave it up for 8 seconds and people can pause it if they want to see all the credits, but you left it up for 60 whole seconds, like those kind of things. And I'm like, it's funny to see how these kind of productions are. That everyone like what their take on how to do this is, and how it differs from how everybody else is doing these kind of things.
Well, because of course in like a corporate thing like for Nintendo or whatever, the individual people involved in the creation of that presentation aren't usually sort of credited, right? They're
Yeah.
just they are but cogs in the machine, as opposed
Yeah.
to actually the driving force of the whole operation.
And things are usually like slicker and faster, and let's get from A to B really, really quick. Let's do these kind of things. And in this case, it's like this is a much, much more relaxed affair. You have to spend more time with it to kind of get, which is, I guess, also a way to look at the wholesome direct.
I was about to say, fits the theme of all the games, right?
Yeah.
A lot of village simulators. There's one that's like a dog shelter simulator.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
You got to like find homes for pups. I was looking at the website. It's very so. Go check out that if you're interested.
Speaking of wholesome games,
Yeah.
there's a mod that makes Widowmaker in Overwatch actually have spider legs.
Hooray.
So wholesome.
Now, this is a bit of a misnomer because it is a little more of a Doc Ock situation. She seems to have what looks like a backpack because because it's a mod, right? So they
Right.
have her with her legs. She's holding her legs up in the video.
Yeah, she's constantly just doing a crunch. She's like, "Arr."
Yeah, and then she has these 4 giant spindly legs that come out of her back or out of her butt or something. Right. But hey, it looks weird as hell.
Yeah, but she's only got 4 legs. And I know that 4 spider legs. And so she's got her 2 short human legs sort of hanging off in an Evangelion situation.
Yeah.
And then she's got her 2 arms, which technically gives her the 8 spider limbs required. But she looks like a water strider bug. Yeah. She's got like these 4 long legs that she's like zooting around on.
Yeah.
I agree with you. But I do feel that if somebody was like, hey, we there's Widowmaker, but she has horrifying spider legs, and coming back with, oh, but she only has 4 of them, like, doesn't make it that much better.
I had when I saw the title for this, I expected that she was going to be a little more like a centaur.
Yeah, like a Drider.
Yeah, or Shieldred or something.
I don't know what any of those things are.
Laltha's from D&D.
Yeah, they're all dark elf D&D monsters.
Yeah. Well, Shieldred is from Magic, but it's the same thing. She's got like the insect body. She's got a booty that just doesn't stop because it becomes like an ovipositor or something like that.
She's got their spinnerets at the end, that kind of thing. Yeah. I have read a lot of Monster Girl manga, and the girls tend to be like the centaur style of spider, where it's like, hey, look, everything is spider all along here until, oh, lady.
Yeah, who's the who?
I bow to your superior knowledge of Monster Girl manga.
Ah, there we go. Somebody is speaking my language finally. Oh yeah.
Let's see. Quelaag from Dark Souls. That's what I was expecting.
Which is horrifying, right? But yeah, that's exactly that's the kind of thing I was expecting, where it's like a massive spider body to go with the.
Yeah, well, they did spider legs, and it's like I've seen exactly what a horrific blend of person and spider looks like in several different places, and that wasn't it.
Yeah.
So
the nature of
what you're saying is that it's not horrifying enough.
No, I'm saying making some sort of spider woman homunculus is a solved problem, and that falls short. It needs a lot more hair texture, I think.
They need to do Overwatch needs to do like an official mod pack where they just basically rethink everybody as sentient furry people, except for Winston,
who is then just like
there's the
looks like you, I guess, just like a normal human being,
like a big bara kind of individual with great big hands and wide shoulders.
Like there's the centaur robot already, right? It seems like turning that into a spider would be more straightforward. At least the animations would still work. Anyway, Orisa. Beej, there's this one other. I assume you put this story in here.
I did some writing last night And I don't know, but anyway, the story is there is a store, maybe in multiple stores, but there is a store in Japan where you can buy old consoles. The Nintendo Wii is 50 yen, and
That's
then
so few yen.
it's so few yen. A Nintendo DS Lite for 100 yen.
Like,
I mean,
okay, by
Switches are
comparison,
really hard
you
to
can't
find
even
these
get a
days.
soft drink out of a vending machine for 50 yen.
Yeah,
Like
and I was just
a Switch is hard to find, right? Right
yeah.
now, if you want something to just like hang out with in when you're stuck at home, and maybe even do some physical exercise.
There is, I don't believe there's Kusinoki asks, what's the shipping cost? I'm like, I think you have to be at the store, and the person who tweeted it, I found this on Nintendo Life, the person who had tweeted it and it got picked up by somebody else did not make it clear what store they were in, where this came from. But it just, I was like, wow, because PlayStation 2s there are 200 yen each. And the idea that there's this many, it's like, well, why would you have that? It's like, well, that's fairly easy, actually. It's that those consoles sold the most of any console in those generations. And so you can people are getting rid of those consoles over time. They're just going to start piling up in places. It's like, we need to get rid of these damn things. There's just too many of them that are like being, given to Goodwills or like that. I mean, it's Japan, but that kind of thing. Or they're being sold back to places. It's like, we're going to take a bath on all these Wiis because we just don't have the space to keep them. So just get rid of them. Get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
And
If you want to take a bath in Wii's, you could do that.
Yeah. It blows my mind that there can be so much of a thing like this that like we're 20 years on. It's like, yeah, 20 years later, we made so many of these things that we have too many of them. And I just thought that was funny.
I wonder what you can get a Wii for around here.
I think they're still like about $50. Like, I think if you were to walk into a Value Village or something, you'd probably find one for $40 or $50. Because I know that a few years ago, GameCubes were going for about that much. And I don't know if people want them or not. Like, that's the other thing. Maybe they don't. I mean, clearly a lot of people didn't want them. They got rid of them. But yeah, my ideas were like, why not just go get a couple hundred Nintendo DSs and give them away at Halloween? You'd be the most popular place in the block.
It's cheaper than candy bars.
Yeah.
Better for you than candy bars.
Yeah. A bit of a disclaimer. Some of these consoles probably don't work, but it's not clear from the signage whether they do or they don't. But I bet you some or all of them probably don't work, and you're just picking up parts. But who knows?
All right, I believe that is the extent of the silly gaming news that we saw this week. So, thank you all very much for joining us and watching this. Let's talk about what's coming up next.
All right.
It's LRMTG is what's coming
Woo!
up next. James and Adam are going to be playing the magical cards, presumably Ikoria. All those ginormous monsters. They're like Pokemon, but bigger and scarier. Although Pokemon do get pretty big and scary. They're basically James and Adam are basically going to be playing Pokemon. But it's a card game.
All right.
Wait, there is a Pokemon card game.
Yeah.
They're not going to be playing that card game. And then tonight, Ian is going to be doing Tinker Tailor Solder Fry with some Gunpla models from 7-Eleven. Apparently,
7-Eleven's a bit more upmarket in Japan than it is here.
If you have the most recent mail time, actually, we
okay.
we showed them receiving that
down the road.
Yeah. No. It's a crap. It's the Zeta Gundam RX 98, whatever. I always forget 2. And it's in 7-Eleven livery, I guess is the best way to put it.
Mm.
Yeah.
I love that it worked out well. Like that mail time is from quite a while ago, but also Ian didn't have an opportunity to actually do the build until now, so it just worked out nicely. That mail time just came out.
Yeah.
Also, I find the idea that 7-Eleven has a giant robot defense force to be a little disturbing.
There is for Animal Crossing New Leaf, they had a special event where you could get special 7-Eleven branded furniture that would let you turn part of your island into a convenience store looking place. Yeah.
Wow.
Like New Leaf had some cool shit, and you could only get it by taking your DS to a 7-Eleven and on the right days and getting the right pieces of furniture and stuff. It's very rare.
I was kind of hoping you were going to say that like they had a special event where like just a Gundam would come to your island and move in, like a little Animal Crossing-ified Gundam.
But it's why I'm crossing my fingers for something like that to happen for New Horizons too, where they do like a weird crossover with a convenience store for some reason.
Gary the Gundam. All right. On Friday, Play It Forward.
Oh,
Kathleen's
that's
Kiwi
me.
with the Mirage sessions in Tokyo.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're on chapter 4 of the game now. I believe it has 7. So we're scooting along.
All right.
It's very anime,
Yeah.
So
but it's also like real hard. So I'm enjoying it.
nice.
Did I tell you guys about this this like mini boss battle I had to do?
No.
It was like 3 decently challenging enemies that it was very hard to kill. Like it was super hard to kill. And if you didn't kill all 3 in the same round, more would respawn. So if you got 2 in one round, out of 3, the 2 fresh ones would then pop up at the beginning of the next combat round.
Oh, that's the worst.
And it didn't warn you about that, right?
Yeah, you're not
So-
sure why it's not working.
It's
but
that
yeah.
combat
Yeah.
where it's like if you do it right, it's super easy. But if you don't do it quite exactly right, it just takes forever.
Yes, it was a real touch and go boss fight for a while because like it was one of those games where the momentum can turn against you, and once you're on the back foot, you can't really like come back from it. But it was very fun. So yeah, it's an evil Mega 10 game in the most colorful clothing imaginable.
Excellent. And then tomorrow night, it's Friday night paper fight with actual paper because it's going to be another Commander night. That's right. It's going to be Graham and Ben Wheeler and Jeremy Knoll and Olivia Gobert-Hicks are going to be joining us. A couple of wonderful, magical friends.
Both alumni of the pre-releases.
Yeah. So going to be doing some sweet live Commander action. And then on nothing on Saturday at the moment, but on Sunday it's going to be Animal Crossing New Horizons tours with Kathleen.
Woo!
All
That's
right.
me. I'm gonna have some fun stuff and look at good islands.
And then Rhythm Cafe, Heather and Ian are continuing on with Runner 3. And then on Monday, it's more Tokyo Mirage sessions. The sessions will continue.
For like probably until most of the way through June. It's kind of a long game. Sorry. Oh, hello.
And
Hi.
then
There is something on Saturday.
Well, there is something on Saturday. Yes.
I guess James didn't put it on the schedule. It's the Arena Open. I'm going to be trying to play the Magic the Gathering
there's a thing on Saturday, which
at some
we should
point
put on the
Saturday.
schedule.
I thought James put it on there. I'll double check with him when that is.
Hey,
Okay,
now,
bye.
Graham, you're here. Can we say what's on Friday nights or on Dice Friends?
Oh, can they say what's on Dice Friends?
What?
Can we talk about Monday's Dice Friends?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you.
All right, on Dice Friends, it's going to be brand new. We finished up on Toon last week, which was super fun. Check it out if you haven't seen it already. It's up on our YouTube channel. But now we're going to be starting a whole new campaign of Over the Edge,
All right.
which we played a little bit before. And this is going to be with Dale and Kathleen and Andy and Ian this time. And it's going to be another probably kind of a more relaxed campaign. We're going to switch out the DMs or whatever the Over the Edge equivalent of a DM is. So get to experience lots of different styles of play, which could be kind of fun. And then there's lots of stuff coming up. 9 o'clock, they're going to be continuing Minecraft Dungeons and all kinds of stuff like that. Talking Simulator, I don't know what they're going to be talking about, but I'm sure it'll be good. Let's know. They're going to be probably playing more Dead Space. All sorts of cool stuff coming up. loadingreadyrun.com/live is the place to go to look at the schedule and also to look at the calendar to make sure that you are up to date on everything that's going on. Now, we should thank all you amazing people who've subscribed both here on Twitch and on Patreon and have our YouTube memberships. All that stuff helps us, makes it so we can do this stuff that we do. Because we couldn't otherwise.
And we appreciate it. Sorry.
Let's start with the people who have subscribed during this stream, starting with Tyrian Dragon for 55 months. Thank you very much.
CJ! Hey, Siege. It's been 25 months since you've subbed in a row.
Thank you. And hey, Ratek Stormcrow has been here for 31 months. A number that is relevant to someone somewhere.
Kayubi Storm Mage for 11 months.
Close.
Is this an anime?
QB.
QB?
Yeah.
QB Storm Mage for 11 months.
Lord Zorano for 62 months. Wow, over 5 years. Damn.
Oh, it's Heron Blade Master who's been here for 39 months. Good job.
Is that a card?
Heron Blade Master?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Could be. Or just a combination of card names. Sand Whales! That could be a card, but isn't. Sand Whales 1 for 3 months.
Exit pursued by a bear for 56 months. The best way to get out of any scene.
It's classic. Hey, the Maricat, thank you very much for gifting subs to Capitalism is Key, Virtually Limited, Wholesome Games, Apocalypse Happy, and Happy Little Warrior. Thank you very much, Maricat.
I'm a whale. Also, I'm a whale. I'm a wow. I'm a wow.
I'm a wow. I'm a wow.
Help, I'm a wow.
Wow.
Somebody who has just been turned into a whale. Help, I'm a
wow.
wow. For 15 months.
Evocative.
You caught them mid-transformation so they couldn't finish the sentence and say whale all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bearden383 is a brand new sub. Thank you for showing up and subscribing. We appreciate it.
Lady Abigor has been here for 4 months. Thank you.
50 Cent. Gifted by...
Is that the real 50 Cent?
I don't know. 50 Cent can now afford a Nintendo Wii, I suppose.
Yeah.
Hey.
Glod Knox has been here for 35 months. Thank you, Glod.
Ooh.
Praise Glod.
And that's it. Thank you
Yay.
to all you amazing people who help us out, keep us going. And as somebody mentioned, apparently we're like 12 Patreons away from 5,000 Patreons.
Oh, wow.
Or 2,500 patrons.
Patrons, yes, sorry. Patrons, yes. Yeah, we are 12 away from 2,500, which is
Well, thank you.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I guess they're Patreon. They're patrons who subscribe
On
through
Patreon.
Patreon. Yes.
Yeah.
And if you are sub through our Patreon, thank you for doing that. It's at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. But if you are in a tight financial situation, you need to reduce the amount that you're pledging to us, or you just want to stop it entirely, do so. It's okay. You, in any way that you're supporting us, if you're like, I can't afford this, then please dial back on that. That is okay. It's not going to kill us.
Mm-hmm.
And Galians, apparently did a Twitch Prime sub, but it didn't get picked up by Lurbot for some reason. Apologies for that, but welcome to the show nonetheless. And we'll be going offline now. LRMTG will be back in just under 45 minutes. So see all y'all later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.